What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now don't forget to like this video as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video clicking that button down below. And if we get 600 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 21 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong, got 21 right, which is a 96% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 96% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak. And if you want to get a 96% win rate and get 21 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord to meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $350 just yesterday. Another member who won $187 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel, the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Michael White 1094 who said, "Thank you for the win. I took Flag, Thompson, Claxton, Dunn, and Leonard, 0.5 freebie and cash." So shouts out to him, and also shouts out to Frank Costin P30 who said love you bro. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you could be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. When it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to talk about is Devin Booker, 9.5 rebounds and assists, and this one actually is for more. Now looking at actually Devin Booker, we have seen him go on the over in actually 2 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those 5 games, you see on December 28th faced off against the New Orleans Pelicans, actually had 7 rebounds and assists there. Then December 30th faced off against Washington Wizards, and in that matchup actually had 11 rebounds and assists against Washington. Then January 1st faced off against Cleveland Cavaliers, had 6 rebounds and assists, had 7 rebounds and assists against Sacramento Kings on January 3rd, and then January 5th faced off against OKC or Oklahoma City Thunder and had 15 rebounds and assists there. So we have actually seen Devin Booker, as I mentioned, go on the over in 2 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is also 9.2. Now looking at Devin Booker and Phoenix, they do have themselves a very good matchup against none other than the Houston Rockets. Now it is definitely going to be an exciting matchup there. Now looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with actually Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns are just coming off a win at beating the Oklahoma City Thunder, so they do have quite a little bit of a great momentum around them. But Suns currently come in at the 7th spot in the Western Conference, and they actually have a record of 21 wins and 14 losses. That's a 60% win percentage there. They're also 12-5 from home, 9-9 from away, and are currently on a 2-game win streak. Now looking at someone like Phoenix, they face off against a Houston team that also ranked 5th in the Western Conference. So they've also had themselves a great season, actually having the same amount of wins at 21 wins. However, they only have 11 losses. So that's a 65.6% win percentage there. 10-2 from home, 11-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see from the Rockets and also Phoenix. Now looking at where both of these teams are so far, we do actually see, looking at Houston defensively, starting off with assists allowed, we see that they rank 3rd, actually allowing 24.2 assists per game. And then rebounds allowed, we see that the Houston Rockets rank 1st, only allowing 37.6 rebounds per game. So they're actually the only team out of all 30 NBA teams that do average or allow 30 in the 30s when it comes to rebounds. All other team is 40 and above. So Houston are a great, rebounding team. So why do we like still the over for someone like Devin Booker? And a big reason why is that when we look on a per position basis, we do see a little bit of a different story. Houston Rockets actually do a very poor job at restricting rebounds and assists to the guard position. And for someone like Devin Booker, who now this Phoenix team has become become his own. And on top of that, we definitely have seen Devin Booker remain to have a very, very high usage rate. We are definitely expecting coming into this matchup, Devin Booker to have a very high usage rate and take advantage of Houston Rockets not doing too well in the rebounds and assist department to his position. So we definitely see him going on the over here. When we look at his most recent matchup as well, he had a great matchup against OKC, was able to beat this line quite, significantly. We are expecting a similar sort of matchup, as we are expecting similar amount of players or injuries from this Phoenix team. So Devin Booker's usage rate will still definitely be there. Now, looking at actually what the pros do have to say about this. So obviously rebounds and assists combined, they actually have him for a little bit of a different line, as I have him for 10.5 while we have him for 9.5. So it is kind of difficult to go off what the bookies are saying there. However, what we do also have is that when we look at the projection, they actually have him projected for 9.9 rebounds. Although it says under, and this is compared to their line, this is technically over for us, as we have him, as I mentioned, for 9.5. So we are actually agreeing with the projection here. Having him for 9.9 I think is absolutely fantastic. And when we also look at this projection, it definitely does, kind of, I would say, relate to where we are expecting him to land at around that 10 rebound and assist mark for sure. Now, looking at the last 15 games, especially at a 9.5 line, we do see that it is somewhat even over the last 15 games. He's gone on the over in 53.3% of those matchups, so it is almost a 50-50 there. And looking at this next matchup, we are definitely liking the over for someone like Devin Booker coming into this game, due to the fact that Houston Rockets definitely, when we look on a per position basis, they do really struggle to, or Houston really do struggle to Devin Booker's position. So we definitely see him taking advantage. So Devin Booker, 9.5 rebounds and assists, 4 more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting to the next player, we're going to be talking about none other than Deron Holmes. Now, he's been a great player for Denver Nuggets, and this one is for 13.5 points and rebounds, and this one actually is for less. So this one's actually for less here. Now, looking at Deron Holmes, we have actually seen him go on the under in 4 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at this, we do also see that he's gone on the under in 4 out of the last 5, but December 28th, faced off against Orlando Magic, had 0 points, rebounds there. Then December 30th, faced off against Miami Heat, actually had 7 points and rebounds in that matchup. Then January 1st, faced off against Toronto Raptors, had 14 points and rebounds, had 7 points and rebounds against Cleveland on January 3rd. And then January 5th, faced off against Brooklyn Nets and had 7 points and rebounds there. So, as I mentioned, he's definitely gone on the under more than he's gone on the over. And even the time he has gone on the over, he's only made it over by 0.5. So, it hasn't really been that convincing enough to us. But we do see his average over the last 5 is actually 7. So, average over the last 5 is 7. And when it comes to Deron Holmes, Denver Nuggets do have themselves a very good matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers. So, it is definitely going to be a fantastic matchup between both of these teams. Looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with Denver Nuggets. Denver have been on an absolute tear lately because they come in at the 4th spot in the Western Conference. Not only that, but they also have 23 wins, 12 losses, and that's a 65.7% win percentage there. So they've actually done a fantastic job there. They also are 10-5 from home, 13-7 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So very interesting to see. Denver have been able to do a very good job, and they face off against a Philly team who are also keeping up in the Eastern Conference, because they currently come in at the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 19 wins and 14 losses. So that's a 57.6% win percentage there. And on top of that, we also do see, when it comes to it, we also do know that they are 9-8 from home, 10-6 from away, and are currently on a 3-game win streak. So both teams are very, very good. And especially coming to this matchup, looking at Philadelphia and where they do rank defensively, starting off with points, we do see Philadelphia 76ers come in at the 15th spot when it comes to points allowed. So they do rank pretty decent. I would say mid-tier there. And they do allow 116.1 points per game. So they do allow, a decent amount of points, but also are good in restriction in that sense, because they are, exactly in the middle at 15. But looking at rebounds allowed, we do see Philadelphia 76ers, Philadelphia 76ers do actually actually ranked 22nd when it comes to rebounds allowed, allowing 45.3 rebounds per game. So, for someone like Deron Holmes, why do we like the under for this situation? Now, a big reason being, first of all, is that when we actually look at Deron Holmes' usage rate, it has definitely been on the under as of recent. And this is due to the fact that Denver did have some injuries early on. Now, a lot of players are returning. And Deron Holmes, although he does have a somewhat decent role for this team, it has definitely fallen quite a bit as of lately. We aren't really seeing him getting a lot of scoring opportunities, and his rebounding opportunities aren't also there. And we definitely see the usage rate and the way Denver do like to play Deron Holmes be a very, very big issue for it. Now, looking at someone like Deron Holmes as well for Denver, we also do know that he does play usually that power forward position. Sometimes, yes, small forward and center at times, but mainly forwards for sure. And looking at Philadelphia, they actually do a fantastic job at restricting points and rebounds to Deron Holmes' position. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for this situation here. Between both these teams, Denver and Philly, we aren't really expecting a fast-paced game at all. We are expecting it to actually be pretty slow. And as we've always mentioned, slower-paced game leads to less volume, and less volume leads to less opportunity, especially for someone like Deron Holmes to score or even rebound. Now, looking at what the pros do have to say, so obviously we have him for 13.5 for points and rebs. However, when we look at points and rebs here, they actually have him for 15. So this is a very, very different line, and that's why we do like the under for it, because, when we actually look at this, we do see that when it comes to Deron Holmes, we are definitely liking the under, even though the bookies, the line is a little bit different, and also the projections there. But looking at the projection here, they actually have him projected for 11.8 points and rebounds, while we have him for 13.5. So we do like him for the under for this one, and for that reason, we are definitely liking the under, as we are agreeing with what the projection is. We are expecting him to get around that level, which is why we do like the under for it. Now, as we all know, obviously Deron Holmes is somewhat getting his first start to this season, but still, when it comes to him being out there, yes, he has played a couple of games due to certain strategies, matchups, all these different kind of external factors. But coming into this next one, we should definitely see Deron Holmes II go on the under once again, like he has over the last, couple of games for sure. So for that reason, Deron Holmes, 13.5 points and rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so let's get straight into the next pick, and we're going to be talking about Mikal Buzelis, and this one is a fantastic pick for actually points and rebounds combined for actually 22.5, and this one is for less. So Mikal is a great player, but we have seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on December 28th, faced off against Milwaukee Bucks, actually had 11 points and rebounds there. Then December 30th, faced off against Minnesota Timberwolves, actually had 18 points and rebounds in that matchup. Then January 1st, faced off against New Orleans Pelicans, had 25 points and rebounds. January 3rd, faced off against Orlando Magic, had 30 points and rebounds. Then January 4th, faced off against Charlotte Hornets and had 25 points and rebounds there. So we have actually seen, when it comes to Mikal Buzelis, we have seen him, as I mentioned, go on the under in 2 out of the last 5, but his average over the last 5 is also 21.8. So his average is slightly below this line as well, so that definitely does play a huge part as well. But looking at Chicago Bulls, they do have themselves a very, very good matchup against none other than the Boston Celtics. Now, looking at the matchup between Mikal Buzelis and Chicago versus facing off against Boston, looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with actually Chicago Bulls, we have seen Chicago Bulls do come in at the actual 9th spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, they have a record of 17 wins and 18 losses. That's a 48.6% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 10-9 from home, 7-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. Now, they face off against the Boston Celtics, where Boston Celtics have been able to turn their season around, and now they currently rank 3rd in the Eastern Conference. Now, they have a record of 22 wins and 12 losses. That's a 64.3% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 10-5 from home, 12-7 from away, and are currently on a 3-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now looking at someone like Matas and also their matchup against Boston, we do see that Boston Celtics do rank when it comes to points allowed. They do rank second, actually allowing 110.7 points per game. So they are one of the very, very few teams that do allow, that little of points. And, as I mentioned, that's one of the reasons why they do rank second. But when we look at rebounds allowed as well, we see that Boston Celtics also rank fifth, only allowing 41.7 rebounds per game. So Boston are a great, great defensive team, and that's a big reason why we do like the under for this situation here. Boston have surprised a lot of people, but their defense has remained very strong, and it definitely does translate as they do cause a lot of havoc, especially when it comes to forwards. We do see that Boston actually do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and also assists to the forward position, which is what Matas Buzelis is. So that's another big reason why we do like the under for this situation here. When we look at the pace of this game, Boston do like to play a little bit more of a slower paced matchup. And because of that, we are expecting Matas to come into this matchup facing off against Chicago and actually slow down the pace quite a lot. As we've always mentioned, a slower paced game leads to less volume, and less volume leads to less opportunity to score and also to rebound. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for this situation here. Now we look at Matas Buzelis, and when we actually look at his line from what the pros do have to say, so obviously we have him for 22.5 while they have him for 21.5. So as I mentioned before, it is a little bit difficult to go off, what the bookies are saying because it is a very different line there. But we can look at the projection, and the projection that they do have is 16.9 points and rebounds, which is significantly on the under. So that's a big, big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see him going on the under in this one, as well as when we look at the last 15 games, we do see that he's going on the under in 60% of those matchups. So we definitely have seen Matas Buzelis struggle quite a little bit over the last, 15, and we definitely see that continuing on into this next game. Yes, we have seen him go on the over at times, but what you also have to realize with those matchups is that those matchups were definitely against much easier teams and much easier matchups when it came to points and rebounds. So now that they face off against Boston, who do a great, great job defensively, we are expecting a very different story there. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the under for someone like Matas Buzelis. Coming into this matchup, we are expecting a lot of the attention and defensive attention at that to be on him. So Boston are definitely going to play some great defense on him and restrict him as much as they can. So Matas Buzelis, 22.5 points and rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting to the next player, we're going to be talking about none other than Mikal Bridges. So Mikal Bridges, great, great player, as we all know, for none other than New York Knicks. And this one is a fantastic one for actually steals and blocks. So this one's another combo one for 2.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Mikal Bridges, we have seen him go on the under in actually 3 out of the last 5 games. So he has gone on the under quite consistently, but looking at this, we also do know that we actually do see December 28th faced off against Atlanta Hawks, had 1 block and steal there. Then December 30th faced off against New Orleans Pelicans, had 3 blocks and steals, had 1 block and steal against San Antonio Spurs on, January 1. After that, we also saw January 3rd faced off against Atlanta Hawks. Actually had 2 blocks and steals and 3 blocks and steals against Philadelphia 76ers on January 4th. So it is pretty interesting to see, because when we actually look at this, we do know when it comes to Mikal Bridges, we have seen him go on the under quite consistently, and his average over the last 5 is also 2. So under his line as well. But looking at New York Knicks, we do see that they have themselves a very good matchup against the Detroit Pistons. So looking at both of these teams and where they do lie, starting off with the New York Knicks, Knicks actually come in at the 2nd spot in the Eastern Conference. They actually have a record of 23 wins and also 12 losses. That's a 65.7% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 15-4 from home, 7-8 from away, and are currently on a 3-game losing streak. So Knicks do rank very high, but they have definitely struggled just a little bit over the last couple of games. And when we actually look at this, we do see that Knicks face off against Detroit Pistons, where Detroit Pistons rank first and are the team actually ahead of New York Knicks, and also having 26 wins, 9 losses. That's a 74.3% win percentage there. 12-3 from home, 13-6 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see from them. So looking at Detroit Pistons and where they do rank when it comes to blocks and steals, starting off with blocks allowed, we see that the Detroit Pistons rank 25th, actually allowing a staggering 5.7 blocks per game. And then steals allowed, we do see that Detroit Pistons also rank pretty low as they rank 28th, allowing 9.3 steals a game. So, it is pretty interesting to see. Obviously, looking at those two, yes, they do rank low. So why do we like the under for this situation here? And that is due to the fact that when we look at first Detroit Pistons, we do see that they actually do restrict quite a lot of steals and also blocks to the small forward position. They do allow a lot more, steals and also blocks to the big men, and also a lot more steals to the point guards. However, when it comes to the wings, such as someone like Mikal Bridges, we are definitely expecting, him to have a little bit less usage rate in those two departments. And that's just due to the fact that, this Detroit team, not only are they number one, but they have some great wings that take care of the ball very well. Don't like to get, or pretty much don't get blocked that often, and don't get stolen off that often as well. So, we are expecting more of the point guards, more of the centers to do with the blocks and the steals. And when you look on a per position basis, it's definitely evident that Detroit don't allow a lot, especially to Bridges' position. Now, when we look at Bridges as well, we also seen his usage rate be a little bit on the lower side as of lately. He's gone on the over in 2 out of the last 5, but both of those games, he's only made it over by 0.5. So nothing really that convincing enough to us. So that's why coming into this next matchup, we do very, very much like the under for it. When we look at also New York Knicks and Detroit, we are expecting a pretty slow pace game between both of these teams, as both teams are definitely a little bit more slower pace, and less pace leads to less volume, less opportunity to block and also steal. Now, looking at Bridges and looking at what the lines do have him for the pros, obviously they don't actually have a blocks and a steal line, but we do actually see they have him for 0.5 blocks and 1.5 steals. So it's a little bit difficult to actually go off what the pros are saying. But when you look at it, just to do quick math in my head, obviously they have him for pretty much 2 blocks and steals, as we actually have him for 2.5. But they are expecting 1.6 steals from him, and also on top of that, 0.8 blocks. So that would actually calculate, if they add those two together, that would actually calculate to him actually for the under. So, because of that, technically the projection is technically for the under, as we have him for 2.5, which is why we do very, very much like the under for this one. So, looking at this, obviously it is a little bit more difficult to go off it, but we have seen games, if we just look at steals, we have seen quite a couple of games where Mikal Bridges has definitely struggled at getting a steal here and there. He tends to get a lot more steals, especially against easier matchups, but we don't really see that happening, especially with the matchup that they do have, which is the number 1 team. Detroit Pistons take care of the ball quite a lot, and similar with blocks as well. We have seen a lot of games where he isn't able to get a block as well, and because of that, we definitely see that being a huge factor there. So for that reason, Mikal Bridges 2.5 blocks and steals for less, I think, is a fantastic pick. All right, so let's get straight into the next one, and we're going to be talking about none other than Ivica Zubac. So Zubac is a great player for none other than actually Los Angeles Clippers. Now this one is for points, rebounds, and assists for 23.5, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at Ivica Zubac, we actually have seen him go on the over in 2 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on December 12th, faced off against Houston Rockets, actually had 41 points, rebounds, and assists there. Then December 16th, faced off against the Memphis Grizzlies, had 21 points, rebounds, and assists. Then December 19th, faced off against Oklahoma City, had 25 points, rebounds, and assists. And then December 21st, faced off against the LA Lakers and had 8 points, rebounds, and assists. Then lastly, 12 PRA against Boston Celtics on January 4th. So we have actually seen Ivica Zubac, as I mentioned, go on the over in 2 out of the last 5 games. But looking at these 5 games, we do actually see Starting off with actually, his average over the last 5, it is also 21.4. So yes, it is slightly below this line, but looking at LA Clippers' next matchup, they do face off against Golden State Warriors. Now, looking at both of these teams and where they do rank, they both are in the Western Conference, but starting off with the Clippers have gotten off to a little bit of a, slow start to the season as they currently rank 12th in the Western Conference. Now, they have a record of 12 wins and 22 losses. That's a 35.3% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are also 8-9 from home, 4-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at someone like, Clippers, or looking at a team like Clippers, they are definitely trying their best to see if they can make it back into the playoff picture, because they do face off against a team that are in the playoff picture, which is the Warriors, as the Warriors come in at the 8th spot in the actual, Western Conference. Now, when it comes to this matchup, we do also see that, Golden State Warriors rank 8th, as I mentioned, but they also have a record of 19 wins and 17 losses. That gives them a 52.8% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are also 11-5 from home, 8-12 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So, very, very interesting to see from Ivica Zubac and the LA Clippers as they face off against a Golden State Warriors team who do rank a little bit better. But looking at where both of these teams do actually lie, we also do know Golden State Warriors defensively, looking at points, rebounds, and assists allowed. Starting off with points allowed, we see that the Golden State Warriors do come in a pretty interesting position as they rank 7th when it comes to points allowed, actually only allowing 113.9 points per game. Looking at assists allowed, we see Golden State Warriors ranked 12th, only allowing 26.2 assists per game. And then rebounds allowed, we also do know that the Warriors do rank, unfortunately, a little bit worse as they rank 20th and also allow 44.8 rebounds per game. So, obviously, Warriors do rank a little bit well in points and also in assists and a little bit worse in rebounds. So, why do we like the over for this situation? And a big reason is that when we look at Golden State Warriors, we definitely do know that they struggle at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the center position. And we definitely have seen that be a massive problem for Golden State Warriors, not just this season, but also last couple of seasons as well. They haven't had a very good, center to be able to solidify their defense. And that's why Golden State Warriors coming into the trade deadline or trying to make a move before the trade deadline, they are trying to get a center that can provide that. But Golden State Warriors do a really poor job at restricting centers at, any sort of category. And we definitely are expecting someone like Zubac, who does have a high usage rate, to be able to take advantage of this for sure. And since we have seen him go on the under quite consistently over the last 5, we now believe that has brought this line a little bit too low, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the over, especially against a matchup like the Golden State Warriors. Now, Warriors do like to push the pace, as we do know as well. Golden State Warriors play a fast-paced type basketball, so do these, so does this, Clippers team. And because of that, we are expecting a pretty fast-paced game. And as we've always mentioned, faster-paced game leads to more volume leads to more opportunity to score, rebound, and also play make. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the over for this situation here. Now, when we look at also Zubac, we do also know that looking at what the pros do have for him, obviously we have him for 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Now they actually have him for 24.5, so it is a little bit of a different line. Now it is one over, but they still have him favored for the over, even though this line is higher. So we are actually getting a very good deal at 23.5, because if they have him favored, or the bookies have him favored for the over at 24.5, at 23.5, it is significantly favored for the over. So I think that's great to see there. Now, when we look at, his projection given by the pros, we also do see a projection of 30 points, rebounds, and assists, which is significantly on the, over, due to the fact that we only have him at 23.5. So we are agreeing with what the bookies are saying. We are also agreeing with the projection, which I think is fantastic. And looking at the last 15 games, we have seen him do a fantastic job time and time again. We actually have seen him go on the over in 73.3% of those last 15 games. And as you see, he has been able to hit this line consistently. It is just as of recent that he has faced off against tougher teams and teams that have put, pretty strict defensive matchups on him, and it has led him to the under. But we have seen him time and time again put on a show, be able to go in the over, and have the usage rate to do that. So that's why coming into this next matchup, we do very much like the over for it. So for someone like Zubac, we definitely see him going on the over in this one. So for that reason, Ivica Zubac, 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists for more, I think is a fantastic pick.